Jennifer, we've talked about some things that leaders can do to help shift their own mindset and their own bias. What are some things they can do to help the different generations get along with each other? Because there's a lot of that happening too. And some feel the certain generations are more motivated and others are not. And there's a lot of, I guess, infighting amongst teams where there's all these different generations. So, what can leaders do to help these generations feel a little more comfortable with each other?
Absolutely. So, one is to take a look at organizational practices. Again, those of us, I'm Gen X and baby boomers, we've worked with organizational practices that are not necessarily supportive of us as humans. They're not always supportive of work-life balance or diversity and inclusion and things like that. So taking a look at those organizational practices that can support millennials and Gen Z and actually support all of us can be really helpful. So for example, rather than accepting turnover as inevitable, shift the organizational culture to identify everyone's talent and work with their talent effectively. And that also increases job loyalty. So addressing those employee needs that, again, maybe some of us in Gen Z and baby boomers just kind of assumed were not going to be addressed. And then sometimes we feel offended that millennials and Gen Z assume they will be addressed can be really important. And this is growth opportunities rather than paying your dues. Diversity and inclusion. Millennials and Gen Z expect diversity and inclusion. They are shocked and offended when it's not there. And I think that's a good thing. Sustainability. Millennials and Gen Z are very interested in not just having a job and making money, but also in that the work they're doing matters and the work they're doing is environmentally conscious and it's safe and it's positive for the world. So emphasizing the good that your organization's doing can be helpful. Mentoring on leadership. Many of us have had experiences where people get promoted into leadership because they're good at the thing that they do. They're a good accountant, they're a good therapist, they're a good whatever. And then they get promoted into leadership, and there's not a whole lot of support for how to be a good leader. So, mentoring people specifically about that. And then, of course, along with that, promoting relational literacy, emotional literacy, promoting that part of the work that is often most challenging. So, we're trained as an accountant or a banker or whatever we're trained, a psychologist. The work itself isn't what people tend to find challenging. They don't get challenged by the accounting work. It's the working with my colleagues, working with my boss, understanding these different expectations, the difference between what the organization's stated culture is and what the actual culture is. That's what really throws people, especially young people. And that's what it takes a lot of work to figure out. That's also where Gen X and baby boomers can really be of service to the younger people to help them understand how workplaces work and help them grow and thrive within those workplaces.